Welcome to Tech to Tech presented by KYZEN, where we will explore common cleaning questions and answers. Let's get started. I would like to introduce KYZEN's own Beth Bivins.
All right, well, thank you, William. Today I will be the first of 4 people from KYZEN who will be talking about ESG and why it's important, why we at KYZEN are talking about it, and what you can do if you are about to embark on this endeavor. So what is ESG? It's an acronym for environmental, social, and governance. And it's basically a standards or framework that companies and investors use to measure their environmental and social impact on things like the environment, social issues, and also on corporate governance. So why is it important? Well, it's a framework for stakeholders, shareholders, even employees to understand how organizations manage risks and opportunities around sustainability issues. Think like supply chain or management positions to mitigate risks. It actually evolved from other movements, including EH&S, corporate sustainability, social responsibility, and several others. I'll discuss those a little bit more in a couple of slides. And then ESG factors really drive investing strategies because people want to invest in companies that they feel have long-term sustainability. And the ESG framework happens to kind of fit right in with that. So, and actually long-term sustainability drives financial performance too. So how did it evolve? It actually started way back in the 1960s when the people started to pay more attention about environmental issues like pesticide use. Remember DDT and some of the old other nasty pesticides that used to be used back then. The Civil Rights Act of 1964 was signed, so people started to pay attention to the rights of other people. And also people started to become a little bit more socially responsible in their investing, either in funds or in individual companies. So people not investing in tobacco companies, weapons manufacturers, other things that they found to be not that great for them. And then in the 1980s, what came about was called corporate social responsibility. And that emerged from a few big things that happened in the 1980s. The first was the Bhopal big explosion in India, and then the Exxon Valdez spill of millions and millions of gallons of oil into the ocean off the coast of Alaska, and that was in 1989. And then the Montreal Protocol was signed in 1987, which is the agreement where people, companies, countries chose to get rid of ozone depleting chemicals. And that kind of underscored the importance of the companies and corporations becoming a little bit more responsible environmentally. So although the 80s was a really important time for this particular topic. And then in the 90s, the ESG kind of started to evolve. The UN Rio Earth Summit in 1992 made environmental issues a more global thing, where it's not just an individual country or company, but it's affecting the whole world. And the Global Reporting Initiative, which was established by the UN, kind of set the framework for the ESG. And then the 2000s, it kind of became more mainstream. People were increasingly, as people started to put more money into mutual funds, it guided investment decisions. Some people didn't want to invest in any funds that contained companies that didn't do things that they agreed with. And then in 2015, the Paris Climate Agreement was signed, and that established global agendas for a variety of different environmental initiatives, including greenhouse gas emissions, carbon emissions, things like that. So now today, here we are in the 2020s, and the big thing that happened was the COVID pandemic, which disrupted supply chain all over the world and really stressed the importance of having a robust supply chain. And also the bigger focus on climate change, with global warming and all the different things happening in the weather systems, kind of intensified the focus. And also, the evolution of computers and digital means to collect data. And now most larger companies use ESG as some sort of component of strategic planning. So I'm going to focus just on the environmental components because that's mostly where KaiZen fits in. So these vary by company, but most companies include things like developing sustainable products. So companies that manufacture their own or develop their own products, something sustainable that can be recycled or sustainable materials to be used. Waste reduction, including landfill waste, so not generating so much waste. Reduction in water usage and improvement in water quality. Reduction in plastics use, especially plastics derived from petroleum, become a big deal. Energy reduction, conversion to renewable energy. Most companies have some sort of a percentage of renewable energy that they have as a goal. And greenhouse gas emissions reduction, the same thing. Usually it's a percentage of reduction. And VOC, even some companies have a goal to have like zero volatile organic compound emissions. So how does KaiZen fit into ESG, and why am I sitting here talking about this? KaiZen was actually founded in response to the Montreal Protocol when we developed products to replace Freon for defluxing circuit boards, which up until then, before Freon was deemed ozone depleting, everybody used Freon to deflux circuit boards. So KaiZen was one of the first companies to come up with a product that was not based on Freon, and actually it was a completely different technology. And then as we've evolved, we've developed products to clean fluxes from lead-free solder, which lead became an issue at some point, and so everybody converted to lead-free solder. So we have products to clean fluxes from lead-free solder. We also have more environmentally friendly and safer products for stencil cleaning in the electronics manufacturing industry. On the other fronts, we have proactively developed safe products to replace perchloroethylene, which is on the EPA and global lists to be banned due to it being a carcinogen. So those products are used in vacuum vapor degreasing. Before we even start to formulate anything, we screen the components that we're looking at for hazards and safety, including the shipping regulations to be sure that we're not shipping something that's dangerous. We have redundant or several sources of each raw material so that in case we have a supply issue with one, we have an alternative. And we also have 3 or 4 manufacturing locations for each product. We also, for our water-based products or things that are used with water, they're provided in a concentrated form so that the packaging is reduced and we're not shipping water across the world. We have a demister and other process care products that help to reduce air emissions, conserve products, even a thing called a capture that hooks up to a vapor degreaser and recycles the solvent to help conserve solvent. And so in conclusion, for today, like I said, you'll hear much more from my colleagues in the coming weeks, but a robust framework for ESG does correlate to long-term sustainability, and it's just it's good practice. Good for the environment, good for employees, and good for stakeholders. And we at KaiZen, being founded on that very thing, have always had a focus on ESG. So what are some questions that are frequently asked? Why should companies care? Well, it's good for the environment and for society in general to care about environmental, social, and government issues. And it also is just good for sustainability and for long-term corporate health to have a good plan in place for this. Are ESG policies or programs required? No, not necessarily. Not required, but like I said, some people invest based on these. So if you have investors, it's probably a good idea to get one started. Do companies need to focus on all the aspects? No, not at all. You can focus on even one thing, like replacing incandescent lights with halogen lights, or just a small water reduction strategy, or a small conversion to renewable energy. All of those things are important and help. And then how do I go about starting to develop a program? Well, like I just said, you could start small, like just a few things that are easy to do, like changing out light bulbs, reducing energy, turning off the lights when you leave a room, or putting in light switches that are motion detecting so that when someone leaves a room, it turns the lights off. Water reduction is something that's not that difficult for some companies to implement. And is it expensive? No, not at all. In fact, in the end, it might end up saving you money, unless you happen to hire a consulting firm or something like that to help. And then there will be a cost involved, which I'm not going to get into. So stay tuned for future, like I said. That's all I have for today, and thank you for listening.
Thanks, Beth. Thank you all for watching this Tech to Tech session. If you would like to discuss this topic further or have any questions not answered in the session, please contact your local KYZEN regional manager or send an email to tech@KYZEN.com. We will have someone follow up with you as soon as possible. And if you like this video, be sure to follow us on our social media platforms for more expert cleaning content.